Well, welcome to another edition. It's the week off edition, Spide, of In the Pocket. All thanks to Palmerbet, because the AFL, and I must ask you first and foremost off the top, do you like the week off, big fella?
Yeah, look, I do. I reckon, but the only thing that I get nervous for is the week before the grand final, because you don't want somebody to get a concussion rule. You got the 12 days and then you can't play in a grand final. So I do like it. I don't know if we've got enough time in the year to have a week off between the prelim and the granny. It just makes it a bit hard. So you kind of sit there. I do enjoy it. It's a good build up. So yeah, absolutely.
What an amazing final round it was too, big fella. We've spoken about how even the competition was all year. But that last game, and I must admit, I actually reckon the Giants deserve to be playing finals. And that was a great victory against an informed side in Carlton on their home deck. And well done. What a year they have had, the Giants.
Yeah, well, we called it last week. That was going to be one of the bets of the round. GWS need to win to get in the finals. Carlton have had a massive winning streak, and without Cripps, and over the weekend you look at a few of the teams that probably didn't play their strongest teams. Just look at St Kilda versus Brisbane. Brisbane got over the line by a couple of goals. If King was in that team, I think it would have been a little bit different, but they don't need to. They need to do what they need to do, and that was to make the top 8. And as you say, GWS, I think it's a great effort. No one would have predicted them to make the top 8. And they looked good earlier on in the year, and they weren't winning games. Then they started to win a lot of games, and they still look really good. So they've got a very, very solid finals campaign in front of them.
What about the Pies, Spide? Are they back in your eyes, mate? We spoke about this last week. They need to come out. They need to make a real statement. They belted the Bombers. But to be honest, the Bombers' last 5 or 6 weeks has been absolutely deplorable. Do we take much out of it, Spide?
Well, you can only play what's in front of you, and I think you can. Absolutely. I think, there's some players there that, got their hand on the ball, and they believe back into their system. They believe the system that got it working for them. So, you had a few more players coming into that side, and, you don't have to take anyone out. So you're kind of looking at it, and I think that's what Collingwood needed. Collingwood needed a big, solid win just to, we've all ridden them off. They're the best team in the competition 4 weeks ago, and no one was going to get near them in the grand final. And suddenly, we all ride them off, and we're on and off pretty quickly. So this what makes it such an exciting final series. It's such a good build-up. 2 weeks now of a whole heap of speculation, and then we're able to force our way into a Thursday night final, which is going to be huge.
And it's all going to come down to selection too, isn't it? The Pies are going to have a few selection headaches as to which way they go. Do they take another big tall and Cox and all that kind of stuff into the game? So they're going to be the big talking points. Melbourne were really solid against the Sydney Swans. It might have been half tempting for the D's to maybe rest a couple of their stars as well, but they didn't.
No, I think Melbourne's one of those teams, though. They still need a lot of their guns aren't finding form either. Like, they're not the best. Yeah. Like, you look at them on paper, and they should be right up there with any team. But I think Melbourne at the end of the day will be finished. They finished in the top 4. You've got to be happy with that. You sit there and go, if we're at the start of the year, if we can finish in top 4, and that's without Oliver for half a year, we're going all right. So I think Melbourne wouldn't be disappointed where they're at. Port Adelaide, I think they had that massive winning streak, and then suddenly kind of the wheels wobbled a little bit, but. Top 4 for them. I think all of the top 4 teams would have predicted, okay, we're good enough to be in the top 4. If we can finish in the top 4, let's tick it off, and then let's start again.
Yeah, 100%, mate. North Melbourne, we spoke about this last week, and I think I might have said to you, Spide, their form hasn't been too bad. You said, there is no way they're going to win this contest.
No way.
What's your thoughts? There's a different trains of thoughts. I've got a couple of close mates that are die-hard Kangaroo supporters. They were kicking the cats and the dogs and the grass and everything on Saturday night. They were shattered.
Yeah, and it's tough because, West Coast do it the week before, and you're giving them a golden opportunity of the draft pick, and then suddenly they haven't won for 20 weeks.
I know.
So why turn around and do it this week?
I know, mate.
It's just amazing how mentally the brain works, isn't it? And people go, we have had the best preseason. We're the fittest and the strongest we've ever been. You know what? Have a preseason on the mental side of things. And if you've had the best mental preseason, you'll win the competition by 10 goals, because that goes to show exactly what you can do. So
it's above the shoulders. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, Spide, who's been your most impressive side of the season?
Look, I reckon. Look, I like the runs of Carlton, Collingwood, Port Adelaide. They've all had really good runs and been in unbelievable form. But I think I reckon there's two, and I reckon they've got two that have made the finals. And the Saints, for me, I think they've been really impressive. They've played with an undermanned side a lot of the year. They've been challenged. A lot of injuries. They got challenged a lot of the year as well. Their young fellas just really stood up when they needed to, and times where they didn't. But then they were able to get Membry and King and all these blokes back. And then they were able to really gel together and win a couple of really vital games and finish where they did. So I think they've had a wonderful year so far. Absolutely. Yep. And the other one, I reckon, is GWS.
I'm glad you said them. I'm glad you went them, because I reckon they've come from kind of nowhere. They've lost a lot of players. They've traded players out last year. They've had a great season.
And I've enjoyed watching him from the start. Even in the early days, I was on him saying, at home, they're a good team. If Toby, and we said it several times, if Toby Green keeps his nose out of trouble, they'll be a really good team. Now, he went on to, average 2-3 goals a game. He'll poll pretty well on the Brownlow. Won't win it, but we'll get there. And, he's just really led that team. It's amazing. He was on the other end of a eye gouge, or a supposedly eye gouge over the weekend. That never happened. So for me, I think the maturity of GWS are no longer the easy beats, and they never really were. But those two teams for me are the surprise.
Righto. Most disappointing Spide in 2023.
I think everyone's going to say the Cats. If you come off a premiership like you do, winning a premiership, a grand final by 80 odd points, you think you're an absolute shoo-in for the top 8. And they were really disappointing. And I suppose you go take it right back to their last game. When you've got Isaac Smith, a guy who's retiring at the age of 67 or something, and
he's your best man on the ground.
He's best by far. And come on, and a lot of people, you can look at this two ways. And their season was done and dusted. They knew that. They were on the bench, Dangerfield and Isaac and all that, laughing and carrying on. It's still not a good look.
Yeah.
Not as a premiership team. We know you can't make finals. It's just those for the thousands of members, and you have absolutely paid them tenfold over the last 10 years. But just that little look just doesn't look great when you're in the position they were. So Geelong, and I think I honestly believe the Bulldogs are disappointing as well. Where
good list.
You run through their list, and they've had dramas. Bailey Smith through all the scrutiny and what's going to happen to him. The injury to, I think, Libba over the last few weeks, he's only just come back and done really well. But they've never got their full ball line, midfield, all running together. So probably those two teams, for me, are the biggest disappointment.
And probably the two teams I reckon the blowtorch will well and truly be on, to start next season as well. They're going to get a full pre-season in. There's no excuses. They're going to start before everyone else, or the top 8 teams anyway. Hey, Spide, let's have a look at the premiership.
The Cats won't even know what it's like to run in November.
Been a long time.
They would never have seen November. They're normally away.
Been a long, long time, mate. Let's have a look at the premiership market, all thanks to Palmerbet. So the pre-season odds, the Collingwood Football Club with $9. And I know everything's wonderful in hindsight, but you look back at that now and you go, that is an absolute luxury at the start of the year. $3.50 current odds. Brisbane were $8, currently $3.75. Port Adelaide were $15. They're now $7. Melbourne was $7. They're now $3.70. Carlton were $9.50. They're actually now $10. So they got the blows. St Kilda at $41. They're into 19. I reckon you've had a bit of hard earned on their Spide. The Giants, $101.
Wow.
Now 21. So if you're an avid Giants follower, you would have had a piece of that. And the Swannies started pre-season at $10. They're actually the outsider of the final series at $51. That's an amazing market turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah. What I find interesting there is that you've got Collingwood, Brisbane, and Melbourne all within 5 cents, really.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I find that really tight. Yeah, it's a big market, and like any one of those can win it. It's going to be to win 4 games and to win a grand final, I don't think that would worry GWS. GWS would be happy to play 4 games, and so would St Kilda. So I think there's some juicy odds all around that. So yeah, I
always say, Spide, in a final series, you got to win. You got to win every game virtually. You can't afford to. I don't think, and not many teams do it. They drop a final if they've got that double chance. Not many of them bounce back, do they? Like, it's as simple as that.
No.
Winning form is good form.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So notable.
The only hard thing is.
Yeah. Keep going.
Is all the breaks.
Yes.
You got this week off. Then if Collingwood have a win, then they got another 2 weeks off. So it's not a lot of footy. That's the only thing. But then it allows your day costers and that to get back ready.
It's that match hardness too, isn't it? That they look for. Hey, notable teams missing out. So the Cats were the $5.50 preseason faves, didn't even make the 8. Richmond were $8. That was short enough. Fremantle were 13, disappointing year. And the Bulldogs were $15, and they've had a disappointing year. So, unbelievable. Some really notable good bets just to make the top 8. The Saints, $3.75 Spide. I reckon you would have had a little piece of that, surely. And the Giants were $8.
Yeah, and look, I think even when you look at the other ones, like Fremantle, they were probably a disappointing year as well. But I don't think a lot of people would have had Richmond in that top 8 anyway. They would have had them in just outside the 8. So for me, anybody who picked GWS to make the 8, that's where the money would have been. I think a couple of people might have had the Saints because of the change of coach. And Ross Lyon's got a great reputation in getting teams to finals. But outside of that, no, it's interesting to look back only 6 months ago.
$1.03 the Cats were to make the 8. Geez, there would have been some fingers burnt there, Spide.
Oh, yeah, Richmond, some multis done.
$1.25. Like, I just, that's that was short enough for mine. Fremantle, $1.72. So they're the notable ones there. Let's have a look at the Brownlow odds. So this has been such an intriguing season, especially even late with Dacos missing games and the Bont playing well, and Petrarca and Butters in good nick as well. So Marcus Bonampelli's our current favourite, all thanks to Palmerbet. He's at $2.60. He was $12 to start the year, which is where they generally try to start. Great bet, mate. You know what you're going to get with the Bont. He's a superstar. Nick Dacos started the season at $26. He's our second favourite at $2.70. He got out as much as $3.
He didn't move. He didn't move since he's been injured. I mean, he's drifted a little bit, but
and then
they're expecting the Bont. Yeah, because Bont, he's been around the money, but he hasn't been the best. He might get a 1.
I reckon you're right, because I reckon Saturday night I watched that game in full, and I don't think he's a 3. I reckon he'd be a 2 or a 1. Vote getter on Saturday night if he gets any at all.
He needed to kick a goal. That's what he needed. He needed to kick 1 or 2 goals, and he would have been, But I think he'll poll a vote.
I think he will too, just because of who he is. He was one of the equal leading possession getter on the ground. Zach Butters at the start of the year, $151.
That's amazing.
He's at $5.50 now. So someone is cleaning up there. Someone's had some really solid bets, and they'll be sitting back, and you wouldn't be cashing out, Spide. You're just going to let that ride for a good dividend. Christian Petrarca was $15. He's now $6. Lockie Neal was $10. He's now $15. Yep. Timmy Taranto was $34. He's actually drifted late. Well, he's out to 41.
He's gone quiet. Yeah, the last half a dozen games, he just hasn't been on top of his, compared to what he produced that first half of the year, the last quarter just hasn't been, he's been okay. He hasn't been, not terrible, but he just, he was all Australian halfway through the year. And
probably cost him all Australian, hasn't it, really, the last 5 weeks? Yeah, I agree.
Tough gig.
Jordan Dawson, $151 start of the year. He's $41. And Connor Rosey, $34 preseason. Now he's out to $51. So
he's my man. I reckon you're mad if you get top 5. Absolutely. Right, he was in the money. He was in the money for the last couple of weeks, and we know Butters is there as well. But those two will have a heat. But the thing that gets me, Rosey got the 3. He should get 3 from the weekend just gone. Yep. So
I was going to say he's best on, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I think that brings him in a fair bit, to be honest. I reckon that
top 5 odds, he'd be about if he's 50 to 1 to win it, he's going to be about $5 to probably feature in the top 5. So that's a good bet.
Well, you've just given us 8 there, and he's in the top. Yeah, I'd put him in front of Lockie Neal and Jordan Dawson. So
and Toronto,
there's your top 5. Yeah, there's your top 5.
Yeah. Love it. Righto, that's the play from Spida.
That's
he's in good nick too. Now, Coleman Medal. Now, we touched on this last week.
Here he is.
He kicked 9.4 or 9.5. I love this. My little 12-year-old, we were watching it on Saturday night, and I said he's got to kind of kick 9 or 10 to put a little bit of pressure on. And just for the fact that Curnow had to come out and kick a couple, and he did it early to his credit. And I must admit, I actually reckon once he won the Coleman, I think the big Charlie said, I'm putting the queue in the rack now. That's where
I've done my job.
I think so. But Charlie Curnow's had a magnificent year. He was $9 in the preseason, been rock solid right throughout. But it was good how it went right down the wire. And even Nick Larkey, what a season he's had, mate, 71 goals.
This is what gets me. How can you fit those three? Because they're like Charlie Curnow, superstar, wins the Coleman, you got to make all Australian. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Tex Walker, the oldest guy out of all of them, still just rejuvenated his career, and to have one of 10, one of 9, or maybe 2 of 9, like he's had a huge year, and he was injured at the start of the year. So he's had a massive year. So I think, he's got to be up there. And then you get Nick Larkey, who you got the worst team in the competition, kicking the third amount of goals. So he would have kicked their whole, like if North Melbourne didn't have Larkey, they wouldn't have scored at all. Like it's just, you look at great those season. 3 and even over the weekend when Larkey started bagging all those goals, you think, you know what? I don't think Tex will get it. And then suddenly Tex comes out and kicks 9. And so all eyes are on Charlie Cameron. I think a lot of people just turned that on, footy fans, just to see what he could do. And when he took that mark, he didn't want to think about it too much. He just kicked the side kick and said, bang, there it is. There's me 100.
Yeah, fantastic, and well deserved too. He's had a great season, and he's gonna be a major player in September too. He's such an important cog for that card. I want to ask you actually. I actually want to ask you, because since Harry Mackay's come back the last couple of weeks, I must admit I don't reckon their forward structure is working as good as it was without him. Like, do you agree?
No, I don't. I agree with you absolutely. Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's going to be an interesting off-season.
Yeah, I do too.
Because really...
he's got some currency, the big fella. He'd have currency
absolutely. You have some big currency, and there's a lot of clubs that will sit there and go, yep, and Carlton could do with another defender, another mid, so they'll get a fair bit for him. And if without Charlie, you still got Silvani and a couple of others. Yeah, no Charlie Curnow, but still a big enough person to play a role down there. Patrick Cripps will play a bit more time forward than he would in the midfield. He's getting no younger. He's getting beaten up still. So, you kind of sit there and go, you know what, is it worth? Charlie's going to be there for 5 or 6 more years at least.
Yeah.
So we don't need anyone else. We don't need anyone like that when we can get currency now for him.
Yep. Hey, listen, Spide, it seems a long time ago now, mate, but we actually went through each individual team at the start of the season, and we went for the over and under wins for the year. And this is actually really good to go back and have a look at, mate. You actually finished with 10 out of your 18 predictions on the money, which I reckon, to be honest, big fella, is a big, big pass mark. It's not an easy thing to do. So Adelaide Crows, you went with under 9.5 wins, and they won 11 games. So you're stiff there. They've had a really good season, the Crows.
They had 11 wins at halfway through the year.
Mate,
they were very good.
Sensational year. And they're certainly going to be a team to watch next year. Brisbane, you went over 14.5. They've won 17. Big tick. Yep. Carlton, you went under 13.5 wins. So you've done well there, mate. Right on the money. They won 13 games. Yep. Collingwood over 12.5. You've absolutely smashed that. So that's a big tick. Now, Essendon, under 10.5. You've only just missed here, mate. They've won 11 games, to be honest. And then back half of the year was ordinary.
Jesus, they bloody don't miss you, do they? 0.5.
Mate, they don't miss you at Palm a bit, big fella. Fremantle let you – actually, no, they didn't let you down. You won with Fremantle. You went under 12.5 wins, and they won 10 games. Okay,
I didn't think they'd play finals, so I was right there.
Yep. No, so you've done well there. Geelong to make the top 4. They actually finished 12, so that's a cross there. But
I don't think anyone would have got the Cats.
Everyone missed that, mate. The Gold Coast Suns, over 10.5 wins. They won 9 games. So we're giving you an actual cross for that one. And the Giants, you went under 8.5 wins. They won 13 games. They've pulled your pants down.
Yeah, they're the ones that surprised me. They're the ones that surprised me.
The Hawks, under 6.5 wins. They won 7 games. So you're so close there, big fella. You're not missing by much, mate.
Nah.
All of a sudden, that kind of 10 out of 18 could have been 14 out of 18, which would have been huge. Melbourne to make the top 4. So that's a big tick. North Melbourne, under 6.5. You've done well there, mate. They only won the 3. Port Adelaide, over 12.5. They've won 17, so you nailed that. Richmond, you went over 13.5.
I thought the Tigers have let me down.
I think I might have persuaded you there, Spy, to be honest. They only won the 10. Saints, under 10.5, mate. Now, they're going to pin this up. Ross Lyon's going to pin this up in the change rooms and say one of our greatest ever ruckmen and one of our greatest ever footballers, he's actually potted us in the start of the year to win under 10.5 games. Mate, what's going on there? What happened? You must have had a rough
Simple motivation. Simple motivation. I've had that up in the change rooms of the Saints since round 1, just to try and crank them up, and they've proved me wrong, which is good.
They certainly have proved you wrong, mate. Sydney Swans, over 13.5, coming off the back of the grand final last year.
Yeah.
They won 12 games. And West Coast, under 9.5. They won 3. They were ordinary, the Eagles.
Yeah.
Western Bulldogs, you had them under 12.5 wins. You nailed this, and they won 12 games. So that was a big tick.
Yeah, look, it's good. Yeah, it's good to go back and have a look. It's always hard, but again, the ones that really surprised us, like your Geelongs and your GWSs. I think throughout the whole year, not too many people could have really predicted a few of those, unless you're an absolute cat hater. You would have predicted them. No one would have had them out of the top 8.
Spy, well, talking about top 8, all right, so in your top 8, you had the Cats, Pies, Melbourne, Brisbane, Tigers, Swans, Carlton, Port Adelaide. You've only missed Geelong and Richmond, and it's your Saints again, big fella, that have shocked, and the Giants. So you've done pretty well there with your top 8 prediction at the start of the year as well. Well done.
Yeah, top 6. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, you would have thought Richmond could have gone another year, and then you kind of look at them and see Hardwick and see what they went through. So, if you had that crystal ball and you're able to see, all the dramas that are on behind the scenes, but, you see all that with every other club, but Geelong didn't have much of that.
Yeah.
Geelong didn't have, they had a couple of injuries and,
they just didn't perform, did they?
It'd be interesting to see how I'd love to see
where
the end of
they're
year review, to see their review and see how they review their team and see how many players they think, need to move on and need to start fresh and how young they go next year. Because, realistically, a final series without Geelong or Sydney would be very unfamiliar these days. And, Geelong now out, Sydney just held on by their, by the scruff of their neck, but they were able to stick there. So, I'd love to sit there and listen to a Geelong as a team evaluate their season.
Yeah, mate, 100%. Hey, listen, Spy, let's look ahead. And I know we've got the week off this weekend, but early markets, all thanks to Palmerbet. Oh, I must admit, I'm pumped. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I love the Thursday night footy, and it's going to kick off with an absolute blockbuster at the MCG. It is Collingwood v Melbourne. It is going to be huge. 7:20 time slot. I like that too. Head-to-head, the Pies are our favourites at $1.80. Demons at $2. They had a cracking contest throughout the year not that long ago. At the line, Collingwood minus 1.5 at $1.90. Melbourne plus 1.5 at $1.90. So expecting it to be a really tight contest. Selection's going to be the big thing. Do the Pies go in with Big Mason Cox as an extra tall to kind of counteract Max Gawn's influence on the game?
Well, do they bring in Grundy? Do you play Grundy? Do you play, Darcy Moore? How's he going to be, shaped up? Is he going to be good enough to play? And do you slot him back in such a high intense game? We know that, the intensity in these games are only going to lift. And then Melksham went down for Melbourne. So there's a whole, really sad. And so, a whole lot still to play out over the next, week to get to the game. And, at early market Collingwood, I'm probably running with that at the moment, only due to the fact that just Melbourne just haven't looked themselves the whole year. They haven't been.
I'm with you on that.
There's just something
their
that
best
seems
is good,
to be
Spide.
lacking.
Their best is good when they come out and they play to the top, their optimum, all that kind of stuff. But then just so often they haven't done it this year, have they?
No, and you can't rely on Petrarca and Oliver to do the whole lot, and Viney. I think Viney's had a cracking year. He'll probably, and we spoke about the Brownlow. It'd be interesting to see how he goes in the Brownlow compared to somebody like a Petrarca, because really, I think Viney's probably got them going more later on in the season than what Petrarca has. Like, there's a couple of games that need to be saved there, and that was off the back of Viney, going in head first, in and under. So, yeah, look, I think Collingwood's got enough polish on the outside and on the inside.
And probably looking at it, I reckon, Spy, depending on team selections and stuff, but I reckon $1.80 for the Pies, because I can see them tightening up a little bit more next week. With probably more saying that he's right to go, and a few of those players that have been kind of out injured. I reckon that they'll tighten up ever so slightly. So $1.80 might be a good price.
And it would not matter if it's wet or dry. Normally you'd say, if you're playing Sydney in the wet, you'd go, gee, Sydney's probably a little bit more suited to the wet than other teams. But Collingwood v Melbourne, wet or dry, don't matter. I'll be taking the Pies, and I think you're right.
Righto. We turn our attention then to Friday week. Carlton v Sydney, 7:50 at the MCG again. So a blockbuster again in Melbourne. Head-to-head, the Blues at $1.50, Swannies at $2.62. At the line, Carlton minus $13.5, $1.90. Sydney plus $13.5, $1.90. I reckon, I must admit, I know the Blues have been in good nick before the Giants last weekend. They didn't have a lot to play for, all that kind of stuff. But if you actually have a look at the last couple of weeks for Carlton, not just that final round, the Suns took it right up to them. And the Swans have got that finals experience. They know how to get the job done, and they've got a very, very good coach in Johnny Longmire.
Oh, Carlton's beatable. Carlton are beatable.
Too short, the Blues.
Yeah, they are. They are short. I reckon if you're a Carlton supporter, I reckon that's going to drift a little bit. I reckon you'll get a little bit better come 7 days, and Sydney will firm, especially at that market. $2.60, as you say, experienced in September. They know what they need to do. We've spoken about it before. They go, you know what? Let's not worry about the outside noise. All we need to do is worry about Carlton and beat Carlton. That's our job. Let's do that. We've made the finals. We've got there. That's one step. The next step is let's win a game. And that's all. They just break it down, and they simply put it through basic game plans, and they'll do it. So, look, I think, if I was Sydney supporter, I'd be getting on early. If I was Carlton, I'll be just hanging out a little bit.
Yeah, I reckon good.
One thing, they're not going to go any shorter. Carlton will never get any shorter than $1.50.
I reckon that's as short as they're going to get. On with your Spide. And if anything, I reckon you're spot on, mate. I reckon the Swannies will certainly be the side that'll tighten up, because they just got that bit of that blood spirit that another 5-10% they get out of themselves, I reckon, come September.
Absolutely.
Mate, are you coming down to this one, Spide? It's the Saints take on the GWS Giants Saturday, 3:20 at the MCG. Head-to-head, the Saints, $2. They've been the outsider all year, mate. The Giants at $1.85. At the line, St Kilda plus 1.5, $1.90. Giants minus 1.5, $1.90. Coming up against a really informed team whose confidence is going to be up, and that's the Giants. They've got a real belief at the moment, Spide. But on the flip side, I reckon you guys at St. Land, I reckon you got nothing to lose. No one's expected you to do. As I said, you've been the underdogs all year in every kind of game you come up against, but you keep delivering, mate.
Yeah, I don't know why they're underdogs here again either. As you say, they challenged Brisbane. We didn't have King, so and GWS have been very, very good. Like their defensive patterns, and they're able to really suffocate the ball, get it down. You got Toby Green. I think Jesse Hogan's in the best form he's been in, and they have got ability all around the ground. But the thing I like about the Saints is they have got now, and they often talk about that great mixture of young and old. They've got the experience of Crouch and Steele, and Sinclair's having a cracking year, and you see a couple come back, and then they're young fellas. As you say, they got nothing to lose. They can go out there and play footy, enjoy it, have fun, and their pressure around the ball at the moment and turnovers, I think you can't underrate it. So, look, I reckon the Saints at $2, I'd be on that. I think, they've had a cracking year They've got to where they have been. Both teams have had really good years. So it's really disappointing that those two are playing each other because one's got to lose and unfortunately go out. But for me, I'd be sticking with the Saints at $2.
Yeah, beautifully done, mate. Brisbane taking on Port Adelaide. Final game Saturday night, 7:25 at the Gabba. It'll be a full house up there. Head-to-head, the Brisbane Lions at $1.46. Port Adelaide, $2.74 at the line. Brisbane minus 15.5, $1.90. Port Adelaide plus 15.5, $1.90. Is this the game of the round where you think, this is the one where you kind of say, I reckon the Lions are the bet of the weekend? Or what are your thoughts, Spide? Can the power cause a little bit of an upset on the Lions' home deck? Because if it gets tight, I reckon Brisbane might kind of just tighten up a little for mine because, all pressure's on them, to be honest. They've kind of got to this position the last 3 or 4 years, haven't they, Spide? They just haven't been able to take that next step.
And that's where I'd be putting in the paper right now. In the Adelaide Advertiser, Brisbane, $1.46. Are they too short at home? Just because we know what they do. So I'd be putting all the pressure on them. I'll be telling them how good they are. I'll be saying you're the best team in the comp. You deserve to be $1.46. We can't beat you. Tell them everything, because then that will give them the confidence then you can come up there and give them a go. I think the key is to this game for Port Adelaide to win. And, we've just spoken about two of their gun midfields, top 5 in the Brownlow. And, hopefully we don't know where Charlie Dixon's at or a few others, but we do know that I think they've just got to shut down Lachie Neale. That's their number one aim. Shut down Lachie Neale, and that will give you a percentage, towards winning that game a lot easier. But, when you've got a full line like they've got, it's going to be hard to combat. And at home, bet of the round, will they get any shorter than $1.46? Probably. Probably getting close to it.
Yeah.
I think $1.46 at the moment, probably looks good. I like minus 15 at the line at the moment, $1.90. You take that because it's only 2.5 goals.
Yeah, 100%.
If they're winning, they're winning by 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah, and the power, like Richmond had a lot of players out on the weekend and they pushed them for kind of 3 and a bit quarters, didn't they? So, interesting. Hey, let's have a look at you from last week, big fella. 6 from 9 in the tip 9, which I think is a really big tick going into a final round. It's always difficult. Time to shine, big man. 3+ goals. Bruce kicked 2-1. My check, he saluted big fella. He kicked 3 goals, 1. Jack Lukosius didn't play. They rested. And Darcy Fogarty, 1 goal, 1. So
he gave them all to the big Tex.
That's it, mate. That's it. And he shared it around. That's all it was. It was all about Tex last week.
Absolutely.
And the head-to-head, or H2O, I like this one. Giants, Bulldogs, Melbourne and St Kilda to win. 3 out of 4, big fella.
Yeah.
Your Saints let you down there, mate. So that's the only one you missed. So
absolutely shattered.
You're in good tipping, Nick, to be honest, big fella.
Hey, round the money, it's been fun. I'm really enjoying it. But a week off this week. But even though the football's not being kicked around the paddock, I know the horses are still running around. So we'll have a look at those over the weekend with a couple of mine running. So I'm looking forward to that. But it does set us up for a great final series, which we're all excited about. And to be honest, if GWS play off in a grand final or St Kilda, we still wouldn't be surprised. I've done my calculations, just for the forward thinking of the whole thing. And I reckon, if I had to bet hard now, I'll be betting Collingwood and Brisbane.
So Collingwood, Brisbane grand final, the two teams, you think they'll both get those home prelims if they both do the right thing and win next week, which I think is going to be important, isn't it? And to be honest, I actually reckon it'll be a belter. They're two really good teams, Spide, so I wouldn't be knocking that one little bit. I reckon it'll be an absolute ripping. And I reckon the last time they played in the grand final would have been 2003.
Well, it would have been when Lynchy caught Darryl Wakeland. So, when they had the punch on in the
that was Port Adelaide, was it? That was when he was
at Port Adelaide.
So I reckon that was 04. So I'm going to say 03. It was a good game. Nathan Buckley was still playing, obviously, for Collingwood back then. Big John O'Brien. So that's Spider's early prediction. Collingwood to take on the Brisbane Lions in this year's 2023 grand final. Now, listen, Spy, download that app, get involved. As we said, there's Brownlow betting in there as well at the moment, all thanks to the team at Palmer Bet and also the futures betting too. For those grand final Quinellas and all that kind of stuff, it's a really easy app to download. But always remember what you're really gambling with. That is the key messaging. We'll be back next week, Spy, with a more in-depth look at the teams, at the games. It is going to be an absolute cracking week 1 of the AFL Final Series. All thanks to Palmer Bet, big fella. You have a wonderful week. Rest up, mate. And I look forward to catching you next week.
Absolutely. Don't forget the AFLW kickoff. So we look forward to that. But all eyes on the Final Series, which we cannot wait. So, we'll see you next week.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.